Focused on quality and convenience, there isn't much you won't find at Marie's Mini Mart. Home-style breads, sandwiches, plus a variety of artisan breads and delicious single-serve desserts available exclusively at our Frecker Drive location. Marie's Mini Mart, with 25 locations wherever you go, there we are.
Welcome to Sharing Our Cultures. This is the place where you get to meet remarkable individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds who are making significant contributions to our communities. Joining us today is Marlene Longjohn and Sicuan. Joining me now is Marlene Longjohn, author, writer, scientist, an ideas consultant, and an entrepreneur. And she's a PhD candidate in the Department of Biochemistry at Memorial University. Welcome, Modeline.
Thanks for having me here. Thank you.
It is a pleasure. I should say congratulations on receiving a scholarship of over $35,000.
Yeah, well, I'm really honored.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about your research?
So my research is trying to understand how B cells, so these are cells that make antibodies. I think of them as the defenders of the human body. Think about the universe, how we have defenders of the universe, something like that. So B cells are part of those group of cells. Now, B cells make antibodies, and these antibodies help to fight infection. But in some cases, these B cells don't develop normally, and that could lead to certain diseases, one of which is a type of cancer that is prevalent in kids. So B-cell lymphoblastic leukemia. So my research is trying to understand how to use nanoparticles that are released by all living cells, including these cells, how we can use that to be able to track and track how the disease is progressing. That's what my research is about.
Well, congratulations. And that, I'm sure, is really very necessary and important.
Yeah, so the more you understand, the more you can do, right? So we need to understand a lot more how the disease works, how these nanoparticles are involved, how we can use that. And so, yes, it's important.
Okay, right. And that will be helpful for when we're looking at treatment and cure for these diseases.
Yeah, especially in the case of tracking relapse. So in this disease, it has a high cure rate initially, over 90%. But after that initial cure, we have these times when we get relapse, so disease comes back. And so when you get relapse, that is when there's a bit of a problem, because the chances of surviving after relapse or curing after relapse goes down. So it goes from like 90%, 90-something percent to about between 15 and 25%, which is like really drastic. So with the more we can understand using these nanoparticles, we'll be able to effectively track and monitor and be able to predict effectively when relapse is going to occur based on the signatures that we've identified. But that is still a long ways off. We're still trying to understand. So, yeah.
There's always a way towards the end of the journey.
Yes.
And you're on it.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, you made a statement, and I quote, "We are scientists, not women in science." Can you explain the distinction and why you wanted to make it?
True. Right. I said that because, I mean, you get to all of these places where you see people saying, so there is competition for everybody, and then there's a competition for women. And I'm like, these women are also in this field. So there is no standard that should be different, right? So when it comes to science, the knowledge a man has in science is the same knowledge a woman also has. So we are scientists, not women in science. Science is not like a planet that we're visiting as women. We have the right to be there. We learn the same thing. So that's why I made that.
It's fascinating, and it's so true.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, you're very busy. You've written a novel, Orange Butterfly. What was your motivation for that? And
that was a long time ago. I don't have time. I really want to write a sequel to that, and there's a book I've been wanting to write for so long, but there is no time. Yeah, so the motivation behind that was, I don't know, I just get these ideas. I guess I'm blessed in that way. I get these ideas of stories to tell, and with me, my stories always have a theme, always has a theme of no matter what's happening, there are things you can do to improve it, and digging deep into the human nature and understanding all of that. So while I was an undergrad, after toying with that idea for a long time, I finally put pen to paper and wrote it. And that's like one out of like several books I've written, but I've just not been able to follow up with any. Yeah.
Yes, well, I'm sure the time will come for that.
Well,
yes.
We'll see.
Yes. And you're also involved with Havana Health.
Right.
Tell me about that.
So that is my very precious baby. Again, I don't have time to deal with that child now, but I will deal with it eventually. So it's something I'm really passionate about. In lots of countries, it's not an issue in Canada or in places like the US or in the UK, but in third world countries, it's a real issue whereby there is no well-structured healthcare system. So a very good example is, I think before I was 10, I witnessed a young boy who got shot during a robbery, and he couldn't get treated. He was driven between different hospitals within a space of 3 hours, and he died in the course of that. Now, that could have been prevented if he could have gone on an app to say, I'm sick, I need to see a doctor, are you accepting patients? They say yes, or that one says no, and then his life could have been saved that way. Mm-hmm. But we don't have that. So, and the government hasn't provided that, which is where I came up with the idea of Havana Health, which is a healthcare app that would integrate all the hospitals in an area such that if you want to find a doctor, you don't physically have to start spending time going to find a doctor. You go on the app and say, I live here, or I need to find a doctor. Are you accepting patients? So that cuts down something that would have taken 3 hours or 2 hours, because we know how the terrain is in third world countries, mm-hmm. or countries that don't have these robust systems. It cuts down the time. Something you could have spent 2 hours on, now you just have 30, 20 minutes to spend on it just on the app. Okay. So it's something I wish someone would give me all the money I need to do it like now.
Oh, the word is out there.
Well, I'm ready to take the money.
Yes, because that will be so important in cutting down the time. And time is of the essence when it's a medical situation and someone needs help right away.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah.
And you're also a science and sports writer for the Muse newsletter.
Well, I am not writing as much as I used to, but I used to write quite a bit. So I love writing. Writing is my absolute first love, because I love to read. So somehow, because I read a lot, somehow I write. So when I came to Mon and I found the Muse, and I thought, this would be a good time to volunteer somewhere and try to, or work with people that would help me hone one of my skills. And that would be useful for me as a scientist as well, because I want to be able to communicate my science. So the thing with me is I think everything is related. Every knowledge, no knowledge stands on its own. So I could use my knowledge as a writer, or my abilities as a writer, to make my science more accessible to the public. So I started to write for the Muse. I wrote for them for a while. I haven't had time to write lately, but every once in a while I take some time and throw an article. But yeah, I used to do it a lot more in my first year.
Right. Very thought-provoking articles as well. I must say I read some of them.
Oh, cool.
Yes. And I should say congratulations as well, because you were the 2020 Woman of Distinction Award winner for Science and Technology.
Yep, that was a huge surprise. Yeah, so it was a surprise. I'm really grateful to the wonderful person who nominated me. I just attended because I thought, well, I don't think I'll win, but I want to I want to be in the same room with such phenomenal women. That was my goal. That's why I went. Okay. And so they called me, and for the first few seconds, I couldn't believe it. People around me had to say, that was you, you have to go. I was like, what? Yeah. I couldn't believe it, but I was really honored. Yeah. Every time I think of it, I'm really honored.
And it's well-deserved, well-deserved.
Well, I hope so. I'll keep working.
Yes. Yeah. Well, as you know, sharing our cultures, we work with high school youth to help them gain employability skills and social cultural skills. Yeah. And so if some of them are actually listening to us right now, what would you encourage them? How would you encourage them to pursue careers and and activities that you've been involved in?
I would say know what you want. So I guess early on in life, like I said before, I read a lot. Reading a lot helps to shape you. Not just watching stuff, not just playing games and all of that. I would say to any young person out there, read books, read magazines, read those long articles that seem boring, read them. You're going to pick up something that will help. And that is how you slowly frame what you want. You have to find out what you want in life. And one way to get that is through reading and thinking and interacting with people. So there's lots of people out there willing to help, lots of organizations. Work with them, talk to them, explore your interests, and go in that direction. And then work hard. That's the most important thing, work hard. Not just work hard as in putting the hours, work hard as in work smarter. Like know what works best for you. Some people are better. Some people study better in the day, others study better at night. Know which category you fall into and use that. Go for your strengths. Don't be afraid to push yourself. Like you are capable of so much more than you can ever imagine. I say that as a person who has had to overcome lots of obstacles, who has been told you can't do it. And every time I hear that, I go back and I work through, and somehow, and God helps me, because I'm a Christian, God helps me as well, and then so you can do it. Know what you want, work hard, and the sky is only the starting point. Just believe in yourself, is what I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was your experience when you had to come here and start at MUN?
Yes.
It was a lot of hard work. And I used to think that I was busy until I read everything that you do. And I was like, Yes.
Yeah. Now I'm cutting down stuff because focus on one thing and get it done right. So it's an ongoing process. So you think you learn. The more you learn, I read somewhere, or I guess it's popular, the reward for a job well done is more work. So when you get past one stage, know that more work is waiting for you. But because you did it before, means you can do it even better. So you have everything it takes. So keep pushing, keep going. I'm pushing every day. Sometimes I stop and I cry. I stop and I cry because I'm overwhelmed. I am exhausted. That is normal and part of the journey. It's so normal, but keep going, keep pushing, because what you will do will help someone. It may not. It's not about the recognition. It's not about that. The goal is to make impact. I always think I want to make sure that someone is able to do something because modeling persevered. I always think of that. I want someone to be able to not die, someone to be able to get to a hospital quicker because modeling persevered, or that is my driving force. And so it will be tough. It is always tough. Don't feel bad about stopping to cry. Don't feel bad about not being able to, feeling like you can't do it. Cry, stop crying, and keep going. Those are my words.
That's all part of being human, the crying and the laughter and the hard work and perseverance. So you are truly a role model, and young people will look up to you and for that inspiration.
Well, I'm looking up to you as well. So.
Well, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Taking time. Thank you. Joining me now is Sicuan. He's the owner-operator of G-Salon, and he's a well-renowned stylist. Welcome, G.
Thank you, Lloydetta, for having me here. I'm glad we're here now talking about,
Yes, I'm so happy to have. So now tell me why you decided to establish G-Salon.
Well, first of all, I'm not from here, so I'm from the Philippines, of course. And then this is my passion and love. Ever since when I was young, I want to be a stylist and help people and give job. Like being a stylist is very much more tricky, because we're holding the most important part of a person, which is the head. Like, you cannot go to the office just to touch it, just to chat, but at least we make you beautiful inside out, and you give hope to those people who have a problem with their hair, like us. Like, we're the key people, especially now in COVID things happen. So this is the only thing that can make people smile, take out those stress, go to the salon, the legal ways, to make you happy and won't spend you a lot.
Okay. So I know that you just mentioned you're from the Philippines.
Philippines, yes.
So what brought you to Newfoundland, Labrador to start this business?
Healing.
Okay.
I work at L'Oreal from Paris, so from there, so I have some. I'm done doing those things, those flashy things. So I'd like to do and go and what do you call it? Silent place, clean place, because I'm not getting any younger. I don't know why. Like one time I woke up, I said, I need to relax and I want to go back to the basic, which I work at the salon. Like literally 14 years of age, I'm start doing hairdressing already. And then as I woke up, I'm here in St. John's.
Okay, well, we're happy that you're here. And what was your experience like? I mean, so you were here and you were new to this province. And what was your experience like trying to set up? Like, how did you know where to go, who to call, what to do? Like, just how did you get that done?
Okay, I've been hired as stylist at Chatters. I worked there for 4 years. I'm so thankful I got it. Then I met also my client. From 4 those years, they supported on me. And then after 4 years, I decided to put up my own. Because this province is a very great people, one of my best places ever I've been. Great people, of course, the weather, I love it. And simplicity, I think as you're getting older, it will change your perception. Like St. John's, I think this is the proper place to start with and encourage people who's not from here also, who are dedicated and they have skills and wasting that, you know, like me, everyone is welcome to go business here, and I'm so happy the government of Canada helped us to open this business. Actually, yesterday I just opened my second branch in Mount Pearl. I wasn't even, like 3 years, and afterwards I have another baby come in, and yeah.
Okay, so and you're employing locals, you're employing newcomers as well. So how many do you have now with you, and how are you planning to expand? Now, you said you already opened one in Mount Pearl, so what are your plans?
Actually, my plan is just to establish my business first.
Okay.
And then a friend of mine called me from Kamloops in Vancouver, and then the other one is from Toronto in Mississauga. They have difficulties doing their paperwork. And Canada, here in Newfoundland, we're so happy because it's so lenient, so they're open to anyone. So I think that's a time, and that's my dream actually, to give people jobs. This is what we need here, not only in this province, but all over the world. This is the best thing ever, to give jobs to someone else. Who need it? It's like, it's a life, you know what I mean? It's so happy because for myself, I'm fulfilled. I have everything. Maybe this is my call. I'm a believer in Lloydetta. Like, it's really hard. Like, if you work and if you're not happy with your work. And those people who came to me, now I have like 3, and then I have coming more because I'm planning to expand.
Okay. So the one in Mount Pearl, you sort of have workers there as well?
Yeah, we have 2. We have Filipino with them.
Okay.
I'll be working aside from them. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, I have local.
Right, as well. Yes. And I know, of course, I've been to your salon and you get treated royally. I think I'm a queen when I'm there getting my hair.
That's supposed to be. That's supposedly. Like salon, you can sit down, relax, not to stress. Because as you go, it's like an icebreaker. Like, you know what's going on now. This is the best way to make you smile, to bring back the hope. Encourage people. That's not the end of the world. Right. Go to your salon, not literally on my salon, but you should try. But you should pamper yourself. Ladies especially, but especially men. There's a lot of men, like literally so vain to their hair already. They know, like 30 minutes chatting, we're done. They'll come out because that's a success to me. As my client walk out to the salon and happy, that's the best thing that you can give to human, to smile, to bring back the smile.
Right. And I know some people who've been socially isolated because of the pandemic, and some people have lost jobs, but sort of going there, it's part of the self-care. There's a lot of talk about that, how you got to take care of yourself.
Yes, this is our key. Not in the hospital. The best place to do the self-care, beauty. You have to renew your beauties. I don't mind doing it because we give free tips like this pandemic. I give everyone free tips or whatever in your own home care. So there's always be a cure. There'll always be ways. We find ways to make us happy. Okay, this is not the end of the world. This is just the starting.
Yes.
And we learned a lot from this pandemic.
Yeah.
So me, I'm happy. This pandemic came in.
Right. Why?
Realization. I've learned how to relax as well, and the importance of lives.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm much more careful. People, I'm so happy because before they don't care. I'm like the mask, blah blah. I don't care. The mask. it's maybe this is the story. This is God's given to us just to learn a lot of things, because sometimes we will call God if we need something, we will sick.
Yeah.
But this one may be like a joke. Now you will learn now. So when you go back to normal, at least we'll be more careful, right?
Yes, we will sort of value people more, than maybe before.
We see a lot of love happenings, a lot of giving, sharing.
Yes.
But when there's no pandemic, a lot of war. Now here, we should be smile again. We go back, oh, thanks, this pandemic happened, so we're beautiful again. Renew our beauties, right?
Yeah. So if someone wants to start a business here, what would you advise them? What would you recommend them to do?
Okay, I believe every person has a talent, skills. All you have to be passion, love. And you don't have to have a lot of money. If you have skill, I believe that, because sometimes people are so complacent, lazy. They just want happiness, you know, those lucky. I don't believe in lucky. You should work harder, harder and harder if you want to get success. And success for me, like me, I'm literally shallow. If I make people happy, beautiful, that's it.
Right.
I'd be proud, like, you know, I made your hair. I'm proud you came to my chair to make you beautiful.
Right.
That's people need. That's people must learn how to appreciate for what they have. You don't have to aspire a lot.
Okay, so when people come here, though, and they're new, they don't usually know other people. How do they start building that kind of network?
Of course, friendship or government of Canada is helping us. I'm telling you, we're so fortunate. We're here in this province. We're here in Canada, the best place on earth to start new life. They want, you know, they will help you. The little thing. It's tricky because there's a lot of application thing, blah, blah. As long as you're talented and you know where you're going, try to learn. Phone call, check the internet. If you don't know, just find someone, make friend, and ask those info. So then you can get, and then you have to work for it. You cannot just do this, and then you're successful. No, success is not overnight.
Right. Okay. So we know that in St. John's, you're in an island. Are there any challenges bringing a lot of your supplies into the province?
No, we find ways, as I told you, like me, Stylist. Of course, I work for L'Oreal, most high-tech. We have a great supply who really help for newcomers. In fact, we have the #1 best product here. The only thing is education. We should educate which one is proper.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to do this. I want to educate more people who has talent to do the hairdressing. We have beautiful places here in St. John's, beautiful people and talented.
Okay.
This is my second home.
Okay, that's great. I'm sure I'd like you to stay here.
Yes.
Right. So what about new students who've completed their training in hairstyling and they're looking for a place to work?
Well, they are welcome. They are welcome because we're expanding, so I'm willing to train them for free. For free. I meant that in this national television. I'm really willing to help them and mentor them for free. If you are only had a passion and love and hairdressing, I can help you.
Okay.
You can just come by and talk to our manager. We have Eric, who's in charge for those things. They will help you and lead you to your path.
Right. Yes, it is a very welcoming place. I must say, when I first walked in, I think Eric was the person who welcomed me. I felt very much at home there.
Yeah, you know, because we're from the Philippines, hospitality is #1 key if you're Filipino. No matter what color you are welcome to our salon, and we'll make you smile.
Right.
And we're lenient. You know, it's so easy because we want you to feel home.
Right. Yeah. So what's it like for you having your traditional food, culture, music here?
Okay. In food, actually, I'm sharing it to my clients while doing their color. I'm not ashamed to share my food.
Okay.
You know, you have to cook a best food because that's your gas, you know what I mean? You should cook a decent one and healthy one. You know, we only live once. Those smile, you won't get that when you're in the hospital bed already. So do your hair, eat, share our culture. We sing a lot in the salon. This is, you know, that's a salon. Salon make you joy. Not just like boring you. No, it's not. I changed those methodology. We want you to smile happy until you get home, and then now through your word of mouth, you will spread those words, your experience to our wonderful salon. So I like cooking food. You know that Lloydetta everything.
Yes, it's true. And it makes people feel, I mean, I think
Yes,
food
welcome.
is universal, no matter what it crosses all cultures, and people feel that.
Yeah, this is our culture. We have to share. That's why we're here. I love it. So I'm so happy I'm here.
Right. And we're so happy to have you, and thank you.
Same with Lloydetta. I love you, and thank you for inviting us again. And yes, see you maybe on another branch.
Yes.
Invite me, and thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And sharing our cultures, we'll be right back after these messages. Thank you for joining us with conversations with Marlene Longjohn and Sicuan. Join us again for more remarkable stories on sharing our cultures.
If you want convenience, Marie's Mini Mart is here for you. A one-stop shop for a variety of products, home-style breads, sandwiches, plus check out our freshly baked artisan breads and single-serve desserts exclusively at our in-store bakery on Frecker Drive. With 25 locations, wherever you go, there we are.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
Sundays.
I'm giving up everything here in Seattle for a man that was cheating on me. Love makes you crazy.
New couples.
We met on a language exchange site. She was afraid that I was gonna sell her organs.
Bigger stakes.
I will never go back to Ethiopia after what you have done to me and Avi.
You're not gonna keep telling me you're gonna marry, that's it!
90 Day Fiancé, The Other Way. All new Sundays at 8 on TLC.
I like to rock climb because it's challenging. These are my helping hands. It's important for me to have helping hands so I can do everything. I like to play the piano and swim.
With the support of the War Amps, Sophia has all the tools that she needs to succeed.
I love reaching my goals.
So to all the people that have donated to the Key Tag service, I just say thank you.
The helper hands help me, and the worms gives me a helping hand too.
I'm Lloydetta Quaicoe. I'm here at the rooms where we just finished recording a Sharing Our Culture series. This is a place where you get to meet amazing individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds who are making significant contributions of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Color party, by the left, quick, march!
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
So this is the footprint by cemetery or where Newfoundlanders are buried in the First World War. Some of them came home and lived. That's the flat earth. If you're a flat earther, that's what it looks like in your world. Okay? And we're going to go through these quickly. So those little dots, if you see a purple cross, World War II. Because we're starting at the War of American Independence. And we think we may have found a Medal of Honor winner that fought for the Army of the North in the Civil War, but we're just got to confirm that. So that's the Mediterranean. That's UK, Ireland. Blue would be naval reservists. All of the purple crosses up northern Scotland, those are the Forestry Corps guys in World War II. That's France and Flanders. That's Beaumont Hamel. Red is regiment. Yellow is Canadian Army or British Army. If there's an orange one, there's a mix in that cemetery. That's Beaumont Hamel, the battlefield, right? So we can do we do overviews of places. This is how we're going to develop the website. We're just lacking the funding. You can go to a cemetery and write down to a person's grave. And then when you hit on the headstone, up will come his bio, where he was, whatever pictures we have of him or her, etc. And we're not just doing this for here, we're doing this for all the ones that are home. Right? All the men and women that came back and didn't talk about what they did and they lived a life. Sandy Baird, who's he? Senator Sandy Baird, Royal Newfoundland Regiment. Right? Trenching in Gallipoli by Gallipoli, ended up being a professor at Harvard. He's buried in Hawaii. Haven't been to his grave, but something a friend of mine has. So what we're going to do as well, we're going to do battles. So this is the Battle of Machi. Sorry. There's be a map and a write-up, so you can click into all the maps and the write-ups. There'll be, here's the map, pictures, air photos. The map on the top left corner is Forbes Robertson's map. And he folded it up and stuck it in his pocket, and then when Rose went up and gave the map to the headquarters where the German positions were, they called in artillery fire. Well, next Friday, I'm going to present a copy of that map, the original one, because we found it, to the Newfoundland Regiment Museum. They don't know that yet, so don't tell them. So we found it. We found the actual map. It's in Sandhurst Military University in England, and we've got permission to copy it and pass it out to people. If you don't know what Machi is, YouTube the Battle of Machi, and you'll see my ugly face when I was in uniform, and we did a thing on it. POWs, there's 150 odd of them taken at Machi, and all these little houses mean something, but that's not what we're here to do. So we're going to do graves overseas, graves here, personal stories of every Newfoundlander that served in any conflict. So this is a project that's never, ever going to end, because right now there's a Newfoundlander out there fighting somewhere. RCMP, Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, the Newfoundland Rangers. We have people working on all those projects. So this is Edgar Pollock. That was his headstone that we found in England. That's a Commonwealth war grave. He was a pilot in the Royal Naval Air Service. That to me is not befitting of a proper soldier's headstone, so that's what's there now. And I'm really good at getting other people to pay for things, by the way. So the Commonwealth War Graves put up a new headstone for him. In the 2022, we found 3 that we are getting repaired or try to get repaired. This is Walter Scamel. That's what his headstone looks like now today. He's getting a new headstone probably in 2 months. Okay. He was a Newfoundland soldier, wounded 3 times. Towards the end of the war said, shag this, I'm going to be a pilot. I'm going to join the Air Force. And he got pneumonia, and he died on the 11th of November, 1918 of pneumonia. This is a World War II veteran's headstone. On the left is the old one, the right is the one that we had switched out. And that guy's in Portugal Cove. Another, I can talk about all these, but he died, he was wounded, brought to shore in Halifax. His wife left Portugal Cove to go see him. By the time she got there, he was dead. They put her on a ship 2 days later to come home. She didn't know that her husband's body was in the hold with her. And when she walked off the deck, out came his casket. These, you can't read it, sorry there's no screen, but it says an unknown soldier of the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. So these are the guys that the young lieutenant in England, the 9th Highland Division, or the 52nd Highland Division, when they took Beaumont Hamel in November, they buried all the Newfoundland soldiers. But by the time they got to them, there was nothing left to identify. And all the dog tags were leather and they were gone. So they buried them in an unknown soldier of the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, because of the collar dogs or the hat badges. These are mostly listed as unknown members of the British or Canadian Army. So we have made over 35 corrections of those. So when you go into a cemetery overseas, it'll say so many Canadians, so many English. Now all these 35 cemeteries are going to account for Newfoundlanders properly, because we were our own country then. They love me over there. I said, can you please do this? Tibbet, T-I-B-B-E-T. How many people spelled Tibbet that way? So young Tibbet, when he couldn't read or write, when he joined up, what's your name, Tibbet? Recruiting sergeant wrote T-I-B-B-E-T, made his X. This headstone here, on the 100th anniversary of his death, we had it changed to the proper spelling. So it says Tibbet, T-I-P-P-E-T-T, fought as Tibbet. And we had his relatives come over to unveil it. And at the same time, in Elliston, the rest of his family had a service, and we shared it with each other on TV screens in Elliston and here in Belgium. So this is the kind of work we're doing. Family memorials in Newfoundland. This is the Baldwin family headstone in Pooch Cove. He had seven kids. 4 of them went to war, 1 came back. 1 guy joined the regiment. He's killed, doesn't have a known grave. He's on the wall of Beaumont Hamel. Another fella joined the U.S., who was in the U.S. Navy. They weren't fighting in the war. He got out of the U.S. Navy, joined the British Army. He was killed, has no known grave. He's on the wall at the Menin Gate. His 3rd son was in the Canadian Army. He was killed, and he is on the Vimy Ridge Memorial, along with 71 other Newfoundlanders with no known grave who died in the Canadian Army. There's 29 on the Menin Gate. So that's what I just told you. So this is what's there now. We paid for a new headstone for the family, and we put it up exactly the way it was written, the same exact things, including the spelling mistakes. Because it's not up to us to change things, but we're trying to. And this is never going to fall over. It's 4 feet in the ground and about 50 pounds of concrete. This fella, who's that? Ruben Costella. You wouldn't know, because it doesn't say that he was a veteran who was wounded on July 1st, 1916 and came home because of injuries. So on Sunday, we're going to put that footstone in his grave. And his son is going to be the officiating person, because his son is a priest. So that's the kind of work that we're up to, we're doing. There's 200 more, all these guys. You never know they were vets. Read the Down Homer if you want to know more about what we do. It's in the Down Homer. There's me. Cowboys are easy to spot, but there were thousands that served in other militaries. I think I've already covered that. Okay, this is just some examples. So what we've done is we've gone over to their graves and we brought a little piece of rock, a rock from Newfoundland. Luckily, I have Air Force friends, not that I'll admit to in public, and they brought over a few thousand for me, and I got them out of the base in Germany. But, and we played the ode, and we read the Act of Remembrance over every one of their graves. Peter Malone from Tarbay, killed in action 9 October 1918. He's a U.S. soldier, and he is buried in Arlington Cemetery. Neat, eh? The connections we have all around the world. Padre Thomas Nangle is buried in Zimbabwe, and that is his headstone, Tim and Thelma Nangle. If I have it my way, if I get the family's permission, I know a guy that lives in Zimbabwe, and he is willing to get a footstone made and put on Thomas Nangle's grave, but he went by Tim. He ended up being a politician and a farmer in Zimbabwe, then called Rhodesia. So we're working on that. Kevin Keegan, one of the heroes of Machi, he's buried in Ohio. Doesn't say he was a veteran. That's already in play. Keegan's grandson showed up at the 100th anniversary of Machi when we went over and did a little thing. And they're really excited about us doing that. We're matching headstones. So this headstone here is Horwood's headstone overseas, but his family has made a plot. And on that it says, in beloved memory of Edgar Horwood, killed in action October 20th, 1918. So there's lots of these. The record is 7. There's one fellow with 7 different things: church, his home, overseas. There's the record is 7. That's the wreath that we lay in memory of all Newfoundlanders who have fallen in foreign wars when we're overseas. That's what we did at the Menin Gate in Belgium. They do a service every night at 8 o'clock. The town stops. And then we discover stuff like the War of 1812. This is a dog park now in the middle of Toronto, and the Newfoundland Regiment is recognized there. And if you go outside the old museum, the soldier standing up, the gold soldier, has R&R on his backpack. Royal Newfoundland Regiment, because we fought in the War of 1812. This is a farmhouse described in Thomas Morey's book, When the Great Red Dawn is Shining. So I said, 2 big farmhouses. I've been to Louvencourt. So we go to the farmhouses, and look at that, engraved in the wall in the farmhouses. Snellgrove, D Company, Newfoundland. A.J. Johnson, a coin. So Newfoundland Heritage Site, we're working on it. Right now we're getting permission from the owner of this estate to go in and 3D scan this. And then once we have it 3D scanned, and I'm confident it's not going to be lost, I'll involve the government, because we know what they're like when they get their hands into something. And my aim is to make copies of all these bricks in like a 3D scanner and give them each of the towns that these men came from. And then maybe one for the rooms in the Regimental Museum. And then we traced the 6 names that we found and where they all went. And one of them made it to the war. 3 were killed in Beaumont Hamel the week later, because this was Sunday service the week before Beaumont Hamel. This is in the butt end of nowhere in Scotland, and it's a memorial to the Royal Naval Reservists that they would bring ashore when they died at sea. And there's a Newfoundlander there. This is the Merchant Marine Tower Hill Memorial in Tower Hill, just across from the Tower of London. There's 40 odd that served with the British Merchant Marine. And how many people knew we had 2 fellas, Kelly and Hodder, on the Lusitania when she was sunk? Fact. So that's what we're doing. We do education stuff. We have all these replicas of everything that soldiers used in the war, from like utensils to food tins to gas masks to helmets. And we go into schools and we teach kids about that kind of stuff. So Gallipoli, how am I doing for time? Okay. I know it's fast, but there's so much more to tell you. So I went on a trip to Gallipoli a few years ago, and it was very regimented as who sat where and who did this and who did that. And I was like, no, this is not how it should be. So we led a trip, and it was 8 days, 7 nights, hotels, accommodations, two boat tours, all your breakfasts, most of your lunch, 3 suppers, 2 days in Istanbul, a day in Troy for $985. Because we're a charity, and I don't get paid. So that was the cost, and then you just flew yourself there. We're going next September, again, because I've been told that the Carib was going to go in there next September. The contract's going to be let soon, and it's supposed to be made in Turkey. And I was like, maybe we should get Morgan McDonald to make it, and we'll raise the money to ship it. But so the landings in Gallipoli, ships firing. So how many people knew we had Newfoundlanders on those ships that fired and covered the troops in? How many people knew that we had sailors from Newfoundland rowing the British and the Australians ashore? You did? Oh yeah, because he was there. So that's Gallipoli. So this is the Newfoundland's major point, right? They landed up here. They fought in around this area, and that's it. So we're going to show you more pictures of that. Frank Gogus has done an incredible amount of research on Caribou Hill, and I was lucky enough to be shown around Caribou Hill by Frank, and we now share information. So all those green little bits are where the Newfoundlanders are buried, plus there was 3 buried at sea, and they're on the wall at Beaumont Hamel. So when we went this year, there's 55 Newfoundlanders killed in the Mediterranean conflict. These are the ones that are buried in Gallipoli, except we didn't have a picture of the one fella, so we put up his hat badge. So we went to all their graves, and we put a rock from home and their picture. And then we had members of our group stand in front of their graves and read out their bio. A lot of rum and whiskey was drank. So this is the town we stayed in, it's Jayabat. Yeah, I know, it's kind of like Scottish, where you just have a bunch of letters together and it doesn't sound the way you say it, or look the way you say it. And this is just a Turkish thing in Jayabat, of just across from our hotel. This is the boys in trenches. This is Newfoundland Regiment soldiers in trenches in Gallipoli back in the day. And if you look at the shape of the trench, this is in local culture, night 1, drinking in the alley because all the bars were closed. So it was a good group. That's the British Memorial at Hellas. That's our group, the motley crew that we were. And it says here, unallotted troops, the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, which is incorrect. We were part of the 29th Division. So we have written the Commonwealth War Graves and said, we need to fix this the next time you change those panels. So we're working on that. Richard Alexander Howley got his first medal in 1908 as a young lieutenant in the British Navy when he helped rescue people off the island of Messina off the coast of Sicily when the volcano blew up. He was also on that ship, which was the HMCS Irresistible. If you look here, that's the Italian medal he got. The Irresistible was sunk, and we were there, right over the area where it was sunk. He got a medal of bravery for getting all of his engineers out of the boiler room and off the ship, and they all lived. He was then seconded to the Canadian Navy and was wounded in 1918 during the Halifax explosion. He had a son who was educated at St. Bon's, Richard Alexander Howley. I'm telling the story because this one's kind of cool. And when the Second World War started, his son was a pilot because he went to a university in England that had pilot school. And when the war started, he walked into the British War Office, tore off his Italian medal and said, I will not wear the medal of my enemy. How do I sign up? He said, well, you know, you're a bit old. What do you want to do? He goes, I can run a prisoner of war camp. So he did, but he died in 1946. His son died in June 1940 in the Battle of Britain, and he's the only known Newfoundlander that we can find who was killed in the Battle of Britain as a pilot. So he died before his dad. And then when they lost his grave, the family couldn't find it. We found it in some obscure cemetery on the coast of England, and this is what it used to look like, and that's what it looks like now. So we're fixing all that stuff. And oddly enough, the young lady that helped us find this, she was so moved by what we're doing, is that she paid for that and joined our group. And on Monday, she's going to have a ceremony at Howley's grave with a couple of her friends. And she looks after the grave and mows the lawn and does all that stuff for us. And we never asked her. She just said, we'll do this for you. So, Turkey, our trip. This is Tyler. And Tyler was one of the guys on our trip, and Tyler owns a house. And so this is Lancaster Landing Cemetery. There's 3 people. And Morris was one of the guys killed. And oddly enough, when I asked him to lay a picture and a flower, I had no idea. He lives in Morris's house. He bought Morris's house that Morris used to live in before he went to Gallipoli. So those weird things always happen. It's just, yeah. So we went there, and we had a bugler and a piper with us. We played the bugles, played the pipes, did songs. This is Lancaster Landing Beach. So we had lunch on the beach. We didn't go to a stuffy restaurant. We sat on the beach, drank beer, and had a really nice sandwich. But this is the beach the Newfoundland Regiment withdrew out of in January 1916. This is the beach. That's the pier that they would have walked down on. So it was pretty cool. It was a nice day. And there's an old wharf and a boat. So we went to the French cemetery. We went to the Turkish memorial, which was built after all the other memorials, and it's slightly taller than all the other ones. Like you would, right? It's a pretty impressive monument. And Turkey are now finally starting to do work and recognize their own troops. We went to the artillery batteries and the castles that were part of the people that fired into all those ships trying to force the Dardanelles and trying to get into Istanbul up that way. And there were Newfoundlanders on those ships. A few of them were killed out there. Of course, we went and had a group supper. We went to Lone Pine Cemetery. I have no idea why it's called Lone Pine Cemetery, but I have a relative there that fought in the Australian Army. There was 42 members of my family killed in the First World War, which is why I'm a little bit nuts about it. 2 from Chapel Arm, and the rest were from Australia, probably a prisoner, and there some from England and Wales. We walked through Australian trenches. We went to the Australian and the Turkish monuments up on Çanak Bar, which is the high place looking over everything. We went to Beach Cemetery, where Patrick from the, I think it's the Enniskillen Fusiliers is buried. He's from Newfoundland. Have you heard the story of the man with the donkey, Simpson? No? He's buried there as well, but he wasn't a Newfoundlander, but it's a good story. Turkish memorials everywhere, and this is what it says in English. It says, "Those heroes that shed their blood and lost their lives, you are now lying in the soil of a friendly country. Therefore rest in peace. There is no difference between the Johnnies and the Mehmets. To us where they lay side by side here in this country of ours, you, the mothers who sent your sons from faraway countries, wipe out your tears. Your sons are now laying in our bosom, and are in peace after having lost their lives, because on this land they have become our sons as well." Kemal Ataturk. So those things are everywhere over there. And of course we used the shade because it was really hot. It's like 30 degrees in September. Of course there was a place to get a beer, and this is the old landing craft in the bottom right corner. There's still lots of them there. So there was some fun had, and it was a holiday, but it was a respectful holiday. We went to the Turkish gun emplacements. Tried to look at both sides. So that's how it all kind of pans out to what I'm going to show you next. Kangaroo Beach, Hilton Cemetery. We rented a boat, and we went along Anzac Cove, Suvla Bay, and we anchored off Kangaroo Beach. If you go to Trail of the Caribou on Facebook, you'll see the video that we shot of the ceremony that we did there off Kangaroo Beach. And we laid wreaths and paid respects. There's a story about the Newfoundland Regiment band, right? They got all their gear off, they got all their musicians off, and the first shell hit all the band's instruments. They must have heard how bad they were, and they didn't want to listen to them. That's the joke we tell. So there's Glenn putting the wreath in the water. It was very moving. So then we're going to get into Hilton Cemetery, Asmack Cemetery, and Caribou Hill. And we're going to talk about the blockhouse, which is over here. So with a lot of study and reading the records and looking at maps, David Mercer figured out where a lot of the areas were. But I'm a map nerd, and I did some detailed walking around there a few years ago. And we went from that, it's this area, to look at this. This is part of the patrol report that they did after the Caribou Hill action. So this is all the dry riverbeds. So if you see the dry riverbeds, I matched that up. And then I took the report of where all the trenches were, and it was to scale. It was measured by tape back then. So we figured that out. And then I figured out exactly where all the trenches were. And we found 3 of them. The trenches are still there. You walk here, and you're probably the only person that's been there for 40 years, or since the last time Newfoundlanders went over there. So this patrol report was written by Donnelly and the sergeant who led the raid on Caribou Hill. So what we did is we actually got off the bus and walked the same route that they did with the people who were able when they dug in. And that's you can see it's hard to in a picture, but you can see the square area here. Right, that's a trench. That's a dry riverbed. Okay, and then there's rum jar pieces everywhere. There's barbed wire, and that's our group at the end. And Suvla Beach is down here, and this is the top of Caribou Hill. They've now paved the road, which was new from the last time we were there. Turkish gun emplacements. So then we went to Asmack Cemetery and the blockhouse. So Asmack Cemetery, if you go up and there's a whole bunch of headstones, and the way up in the end, there's one all by itself, and it's a Newfoundlander. People, why is that? Because remember I showed you an unknown soldier of the Newfoundland Regiment? They didn't put up headstones in Turkey for unknowns. So he's in the middle, okay, he's in the middle of a bunch. We did the November storm, 2 minutes? 2 minutes, okay? Yes. We did the November storm, and when we went to the blockhouse, we found the well and the blockhouse, and we actually had recordings of their voices, because they were recorded at home. They were talking about the November storm. There were 400 people froze to death. Some Newfoundlanders were evacuated, but no Newfoundlanders died in it. You can see the before and after pictures of the trenches. We went to Troy for the day. This is the ship that laid all the mines. And then this is the battery that fired against Hellas. This is where the British monument was, and we showed you before. Towns sent us pictures of soldiers and individual rocks painted by their towns and families. We had our own bugle and piper. This is where the Caribou Monument's going to go in, right there. We're having a drink of rum. And that's it. So the only thing I want to talk to you about is next Friday night, we are doing our annual gala fundraising dinner. Tickets are $75 each, and we still have room for sponsorships. If you want one, see me after, and I will gladly sell you a ticket, and I can take payments on my credit card. Or you can make tax receivable donations.